All right, what's going on, YouTube? All right, so I know this video is kind of random, but I don't see why people are not requesting this fight. Like, this can't happen. This should happen, and it could happen. I think maybe it's because these two fighters, and I'm a big fan of both. They have the same fan base. They're both black fighters. They're both Al Heyman fighters. They both fight on Showtime and PBC. You know, Um, but the fight can happen. Jermall has already called out Daniel Jacobs. He called out both him and Triple G. He's been called out Canelo. So I don't see why these two can't fight now, and the winner fights the winner of Triple G Canelo, or maybe Saunders, the winner of Saunders and Monroe. I don't see why those fights can't happen. Okay, because Jermall still undefeated. Moved up with 154. I believe I think he belongs at 160. You know, and I would love to see this fight. I think it's a great competitive fight. You know, everybody seems to be more focused on Jermall getting a shot at Triple G. Or Daniel Jacobs is getting a rematch with Triple G. But since these guys don't have anything scheduled right now, why can't they fight each other right now? You know, give the build up and the height for a potential super fight with either Canelo or Triple G. We can build that fight up by having these two fight right now. You know, now I understand like they have the same fan base, but let's not like ignore this whole fight. This is a good fight if they were to fight right now. You know, this is a great fight. Who's better between these two? I want to know who's better between Daniel Jacobs and Jermall Charlo. You know, I mean, if you look at it, Jermall is usually Jermall is usually the bigger man in the ring. He's not bigger than Daniel Jacobs. I don't believe he is. I think at maybe they're the same size, maybe, but I would probably give the slight edge in size to Daniel Jacobs, if anything. You know, they make me at least equal in size. You know, for all the people, and I'm only saying this because I know there's a lot of people that in the comments of Jermall Charlo fights, they always complain, oh, Jermall's fighting guys much smaller than him and he's only winning. People act like he only wins fights because of his size and not his skill, which is very, very unfair. Um, but if he were to fight Daniel Jacobs, well, if he beats Daniel Jacobs, you can't say that he fought a smaller guy. Daniel Jacobs is a big fighter at 160, and he has probably a harder punch than anybody at 160. You can argue that he's the hardest puncher at 160. You can definitely make that argument. You know, this is why Triple G fought such a defensive fight against him, because he's aware of how hard this guy hits. Daniel Jacobs fought just knocked out just about everybody he's faced ever. You know, except the couple of guys that he lost to. He got Peter Quillen out of there in one round. You know, and speaking of Peter Quillen, real quick, when is he coming back, man? It's been about 2 years. I would hope he. You don't want to go too long. I know you understand you lost and everything, but I mean, you don't want to go too long not fighting. Get too rusty, especially from a loss, man. That it kind of mentally messes you up a little bit. Hope he comes back soon. But anyway, who would win this fight? I don't know, man. I think Jermall has one of the best jabs in the game by far. But I think Daniel Jacobs has a more variety in his whole skill set. And he's proven that, and that especially in that last fight. I mean, he is one of the best switch hitters in boxing. He can fight a full fight in southpaw or orthodox. And you wouldn't even be able to tell what he's better at doing. He's that good at doing it. And it's very few fighters that's capable of doing that. You know, it's a tough fight. They both hit hard. You know, but Jacob has been in there with guys that hit very hard. You know, he went 12 rounds with Triple G and got hit a lot and took the punches well. You know, Dan, we all feel that Jermall is a big puncher, but he was a puncher at 154. Is he a puncher at 160? He might be a better puncher at 160. You know, but I don't think he has Triple G power. I don't think he has Daniel Jacobs power. You know, now as far as his skill set, it's very hard to call. It's very hard to call. Like I said, I think Jermall on his outside game, he's great. He's a great counterpuncher. You know, but Daniel Jacobs is a great counterpuncher too. And Daniel Jacobs has more experience. He has more experience. He does. Okay? Who's going to make the right adjustments? You know? Daniel Jacobs can switch it up any way you have it. Whereas Jermall is so sharp and precise. And he's, you know, he can take a hit. If you've seen the fight with recently against J-Rock, you know, he would take punches and counter, you know. He can take the punches and counter well, even when taking the punches. He can take the hits and dish it back out. I think Daniel Jacobs has a better inside game. I think he has a better inside game. You know, I think he could make the better adjustments. You know, he has a great jab itself. You know, as far as speed, I want to say they're both around equal. You know, it's a very even matchup, and I would love to see this fight. I don't know who's gonna win that fight, but I wanted to talk about it because it's a fight that no one seems to really be talking about, and I know why. Because the fan base, it's the fan base here that we're talking about. If you're a fan of both of these fighters, you don't want to see neither one of them lose. You know, I understand. I think that's the reason why a lot of people are not talking about it. It's easier to just say, "Oh, let's get Jermall to fight Triple G." You know, there's people out there that are Triple G fans. They're saying that Jermall doesn't deserve a shot because he called him out. That's bullshit. You know, nah, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. He deserves a shot. You know, anybody that does their thing at 154, champion at 154, and decides to move up, yeah, they deserve a shot. You know, I think going up in weight to fight another champion is cool. You know, he definitely deserves a shot. You know, I mean, the Hayden, the last opponent, Hayden, against Jermall. I mean, that fight really didn't do anything for anyone. You know, the guy came in with a wooden leg. You know, one of his legs was already injured. It appears to be already injured. You know, but he wasn't going to win regardless. You know, and it has nothing to do with size. You know, no one was saying that when Cotto was supposed to fight him a few years back. Guys, forget that. That man was supposed to be fighting. He was at the top of the WBC rankings for years. Okay? And people kept getting a pass from fighting him. You know, nobody said that he was a bum when he beat up Matthew Macklin. You know, beat the hell out of him. But I don't want, this video is not about that. You know, I think Jermall deserves a shot at Canelo or Triple G. You know, but while we're waiting around and we're waiting to see who's going to win that fight, let's get this fight. You know, because I seriously doubt that the winner of Triple G and Canelo is going to fight either one of these two right away anyway. I think they're going to fight whoever's holding that other title. You know, whether it's Saunders or whether it's Willie Monroe Jr. And I got to make a video on that too. And I got to make a video on Triple G and Canelo. And I will. But let's get this fight popping. Who do I think is going to win? I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like both fighters, you really shouldn't bet against them. You know, especially with Daniel Jacobs' last performance. You know, the Quillen thing was no fluke. The Quillen knockout in that first round was no fluke. It really wasn't. You know, and the Triple G fight was no fluke neither. You know, I thought Jacobs edged that fight. I thought he edged it. You know, I love Triple G too, but I thought Jacobs did enough to secure a win. And though I thought it was close, I thought it could have gone either way, but I thought Jacobs edged it. All right, and I would love to eventually see a rematch. Uh, but Jermall, you know, he's a sniper from the outside, but I feel like Danny Jacobs has so much experience at this time that he would probably figure out a way to beat him. You know, as good as Jermall is, I can't forget that Austin Trout fight. You know, which I thought was a clear draw. You know, I think like Canelo, I think Jermall has a lot of power, but I don't think he has that concussive power like the way Triple G and Daniel Jacobs have, or Wilder, or I'm trying to think, or Adonis Stevenson, you know, or Guillermo Ringando. You know, I don't think he has that type of power. You know, I think he's a level down from that. You know, uh, Jacobs. I think Jacobs fighting Jermall. Jacobs could fight away. You know, fighting guys like Dimitri Pirog and Triple G and Quillen. Those guys are just on another level from the guys that Jermall has faced. You know, J Rock, very skilled fighter, but he was inexperienced at that time too. Uh, you know, uh, Bunridge, you know, another guy that is a champion, has been a champion, but another guy that I never thought was really that good. You know, I never thought Court K9 was really that good of a fighter. You know, it was more like his aggression and his physical ability. You know, it wasn't more like his boxing skills. You know, guys like that. And then fighting Trout, who was the most experienced fighter he's faced, was a guy that was easily handled by Iris Langlar, you know? Easily, you know? Whereas Jermall and Trout was going back and forth throughout the whole fight, you know? I thought that fight was a draw. You know, and I thought if Austin Trout were to fight a Daniel Jacobs, he would get dominated and possibly stopped, at least knocked down. You know, if I had to pick a winner, I would probably pick Daniel Jacobs just because of the experience. But I do think Jermall is capable of beating him as well. But that would be that's a whole nother level from what he's been facing. You know. So anyway, I would pick Jacobs to win that if they were to fight by a decision. I don't think he would knock out Jermall, but I think he would beat him on points. Barely. All right? That's my opinion for now. Let me know what you guys think. Another prediction video without the politics. See you guys on the next one. Peace.